We're going to start with the vocab for lesson 7-1, and the first word is numerical expression, and that's a combination of numbers, operations such as addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. So in our first problem over here, we have 5 times the sum of 12 plus 4. That's a numerical expression, and to solve the numerical expression, we would distribute the 5 to the 12, the 5 to the 4, so we have 5 times 12 plus 5 times 4. Add those two together, we get 6 plus 20, which is 80. An equivalent expression, expressions that have the same value. So in this example over here, we have the difference between 20 minus 3, and we're multiplying that by 8 times 2. We can distribute again, and then multiply, subtract, and give you 139.4, 139 and 4 tenths. Those are equivalent expressions. From the original to the answer are equivalent expressions. Distributive property is to multiply a sum by a number. You're going to multiply each addend by the number outside the parentheses. So we have A times the sum of B plus C. So what we're doing is we're distributing the A to the B, so it's A times B, putting in your addition, and then distributing your A to the C, so it's A times C. So that's the distributive property. An algebraic expression is an expression that contains sums and or products of variables and numbers. So in this problem over here, this is an algebraic expression because it contains a variable. We can still distribute the 4 to the x, the 4 to the 5, so we have 4x plus 4 times 5. We can only multiply the 4 times 5, so our final answer is 4x plus 20. For our notes are on the distributive property. We're going to use the distributive property to write equivalent numerical and algebraic expressions, and we're going to use the distributive property to simplify algebraic expressions. The Common Core state standards and the mathematical practices are listed. We're going to use the distributive property to write each expression as an equivalent numeric expression. Then evaluate the expression. We're going to change subtraction to add in the opposite if needed. So we want to clear away the parentheses. Now, in this section here, we could do the order of operations. That's not what we're practicing right now. We're practicing the distributive property, which is clearing away the parentheses and passing out the number in front of the parentheses to each of the numbers inside. So I want to pass my 3 to the 4, so it's 3 times 4, plus, and then I pass my 3 to the 5, so it's 3 times 5. Then we can add, by doing the order of operations, 3 times 4, which is 12, plus 3 times 5, which is 15, and add the two numbers together to give you 27. In example 2, we have, in parentheses, 7 minus 3, and then we're multiplying that by negative 2. Let's start by changing subtraction to add in the opposite. Distribute, but since the negative 2 is on the right, we want to always distribute to the first number inside the parentheses. So negative 2 times 7 plus a negative 2 times a negative 3. Negative 2 times a negative 7 is negative 14. Plus a negative 2 times a negative 3 is 6. So in this case here, we take the sign of the larger number, which would be negative 14. So our answer is negative, and 14 minus 6 is 8. So our answer is negative 8. For number 3, we have 3/4 times the difference of 8 minus 2. Change subtraction to add in the opposite first, and then distribute. The first thing that I'm going to do here is I'm going to distribute my 3/4 to the 8 plus my 3/4 to the negative 2. Doing the order of operations, I would multiply first, and I can actually cross cancel in these problems. I can put my whole numbers or my integers over 1. I'm going to cross cancel my 4 with the 8. So 4 divided by 4 is 1, 8 divided by 4 is 2. So 2 times 3 is 6. Plus, cross cancel over here, my 4 becomes a 2, and my 2 becomes a 1. So I am left with negative 3/2, which negative 3/2 is the same thing as negative 1/2. So here I would have to take the sign of the larger, which would be 6, and subtract. So 6 minus 1. So 6 minus 1/2. I would have to borrow from the 6, make it a 5. So now I have 5 and 2 halves, which is still 6. Subtract 2 minus 1 is 1. over 2, and 5 minus 1 is 4. So my answer is 4.5. And it would be positive because 6 was larger. In the next section, it says use the distributive property to write each expression as an equivalent algebraic expression. Then evaluate the expression. Change subtraction to add in the opposite if necessary. These are algebraic expressions. They contain variables. So we're still going to distribute the 4 to the x, so 4 times x, plus the 4 to the 7, so 4 times 7. When we evaluate 4x, or 4 times x, is 4x, and 4 times 7 is 28. It's simplified. 4x and 28 are not like terms, so 4x plus 28 is your final answer. Number 5, start by changing subtraction to add in the opposite, and then distribute. Negative 6 times x plus negative 6 times a negative 4. Multiply. Negative 6 times x is negative 6x, plus a negative 6 times a negative 4 is 24. So my final answer is negative 6x plus 24. Number 6, change subtraction to add in the opposite. Distribute. 8 times 3n plus 8 times a negative 9. So 8 times 3n is 24n. Plus, so 8 times a negative 9 is negative 72. So your final answer is 24n plus a negative 72. Now we're going to use the distributive property and combine like terms. So we're going to use the distributive property to simplify expressions. So I have 6 times the sum of n plus 3 plus 2n. Start by clearing away the parentheses, distribute. And in this step over here, we can mentally multiply and distribute without showing our step that we did above. So 6 times n is 6n plus 6 times 3, and we can replace that with 18 plus 2n. Now combine like terms. 6n plus 2n is 8n plus 18, and that is simplified. Number 8, 4x plus 5 times the sum of x plus 2. Bring down your 4x, bring down your plus. Now distribute. 5 times x is 5x, plus 5 times 2 is 10. Combine your x's together, those are like terms, and your 10 has no like terms. So 4x plus 5x is 9x plus 10. Number 9, we have y minus 2 times the difference of x minus 3y. Change subtraction to add in the opposite. We can put a 1 in front of the y, so we have 1y plus, distribute your negative 2 to the x, so that's negative 2x, plus your negative 2 times the negative 3y, that gives you 6y. Combine like terms, we have our y's and our x's, but we want to put them in order alphabetically. So our negative 2x goes first, plus 7y. And that's your final answer. Some problem solving with the distributive property. So number 10 says, amusement parks. A one-day pass to an amusement park costs $50. A round-trip bus ticket to the park costs $10. Write and solve 2 equivalent expressions to find the total cost of a one-day pass and a bus ticket for 20 students. First step, find the cost for one person, then multiply it by 20. So one person goes to the park. They're going to pay $50 to get into the park, plus $10 to ride the bus. That's one person. We need to know how much it costs for 20 people. Now it says distribute to find the cost for 20 passes and 20 tickets. So we distribute 20 students times $50 to get in, 20 times $10 to ride the bus. So add to find the total cost. So 20 times 50 is 1,000. That's how much it costs to get into the park for 20 students. 20 times 10 is 200. That's how much the bus ticket would cost for 20 students. Add those two together, your final answer is 1,200. That's what the trip would cost for 20 students to go to an amusement park and ride the bus. Factor each expression. If the expression cannot be factored, write cannot be factored. Steps to follow. 1. Find the GCF. 2. Write each term as a product of the GCF and the remaining factors. Number 11 says 2x plus 4. So the steps say find the GCF first. So we're going to rewrite the 2x plus 4, and we're going to put an upside down division sign around it. We're going to take out common factors of 2 and 4. Common factors of 2 and 4 are 2. So if we take out our 2 from our 2x, the other factor that's left is x, because 2 times x is 2x. If we take out 2 from our 4, our other factor that's left is 2. We can bring down our plus. Our second step is to write our final answer. Our GCF is what we took out. Our remaining factors are your x plus your 2. So our final answer is 2 times the sum of x plus 2. Number 12, 6x plus 48. We start by writing 6x plus 48 and putting in our upside down division. We'll take out common factors that 6x and 48 have in common, and that is 6. So we're left with x because 6 times x is 6x, and we're left with 8 because 6 times 8 is 48, and we can bring down our addition. We put our greatest common factor out in front, and our leftover factors go inside our parentheses, so we have 6 times the sum of x plus 8. Number 13 is 9x minus 21. Start by rewriting. Do your upside down division. Take out common factors. 9x and 21 have 3 in common. We take out a 3. The other factor that's left is 3x, because 3 times 3x gives you 9x. Take 3 out from 21. The other factor that's left is 7, because 3 times 7 is 21. So we rewrite our answer. Our GCF is 3 out in front, and our remaining factors 3x minus 7 in parentheses. So our final answer is 3 times the difference of 3x and 7.